All right, we've got 2 o'clock on the dot. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. If you're here for the LEAP webinar with Patrick Fingles, you are in the right spot. My name is Kelly. I'm the marketing coordinator here at LEAP, and I just want to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to join us. We know that there's a lot going on in the world and your lives right now, so we appreciate having you with us today. While we wait for everyone to get logged on, I just wanted to take a quick peek at our agenda for the day. So we'll have a couple of housekeeping items, and we'll move into our introductions and then into the meat and potatoes of our webinar today, where we'll be looking at 6 ways to overcome the current situation, some technology preparation and planning for the comeback, and then we'll have some time for a Q&A at the end. In regards to the housekeeping, this webinar is being recorded today, and there will be a link distributed to everyone later this afternoon. We also have a PDF copy of the Home Contractor's Guide to Preparing for the Great Comeback that will be distributed along with the recording. There is also a copy of that document available in the handout section of your GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen. So you can click into that handout section and download the PDF now, and it'll also be sent to you after the webinar as well. On that GoToWebinar control panel, there is also a questions box on the right-hand side. We'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in into that section there, and we will keep an eye on that and answer those questions as we go. And we'll also have a Q&A time at the end of the session today. If you could just go ahead, drop a quick hello, maybe say where you're calling in from today, just to get you familiar with the control panel there. All right, got San Diego, Spokane, welcome. I'm calling in from Maryland today. It's quite windy outside. We've got, it looks like some East Coast storms moving through. All right, I have a quick poll that I'd like to share with you all before we get started. I just wanted to understand who on the call is currently using LEAP. So if you could take a quick moment and check off one of those boxes there, I'd appreciate that. All right. Ooh, we've got someone joining us from Canada. Welcome. Welcome, Casey from Rhode Island. All right, just another quick second on that poll. If you haven't checked off your answer, please do so. All right, great. I'll go ahead and close that out now. All right, thank you very much for your responses there. All right, now let's go ahead and introduce our speakers today. So I'd like to introduce Tom Bash. Tom is our Strategic Partnerships Manager here at LEAP. Tom comes from the roofing industry and will be joining us as a moderator today. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. Really excited about the webinar today and what Patrick's going to share with you. First of all, I wanted to just give a quick overview of LEAP. Judging by the poll results, we're pretty close to 50-50. So those of you that use LEAP really appreciate the support. I'm sure, especially in these days, you're seeing a lot of reward for having implemented this software. But if you're not familiar with LEAP, LEAP digitizes the in-home sales process, or in today's world, could be the virtual sales process. But really what LEAP aims to do is move you from a world where you're using paper and being inefficient to a world where you're being as efficient as possible and can concentrate on facilitating that sale. At the end, we'll give you some more contact information, and if you're interested in LEAP, we'd love to talk to you about your business and see if we can help. But with that being said, I wanted to introduce our speaker today, Patrick Fingles. Patrick is the CEO of LEAP. He's an incredible person, not just for his leadership, but also his knowledge. Patrick has a ton of insight, having been in the industry for a couple decades now, and I'm really excited to hear what he's going to share. So with that, Patrick, I'll hand it over to you, and I look forward to listening to what you have to share.
Thanks, Tom. It's funny, I'm looking at this picture. First of all, I apologize, I'm not a better looking human, but I do what I can. And secondly, I'm like, oh, that's a suit. And this body hasn't seen a suit. That's at work, Patrick. A stay-at-home Patrick wears a sweatsuit. So it's funny to see myself in that likeness. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining you. I'm one person with lots of opinions, just like everybody else. And this is really just not going to be so much an exploration of the unknown, more so an exploration of the known. So we're going to talk a lot about the things that we know. These things are factual. We know the things that we should do. And it's just about how we look at them, the lens of kind of life and how we look at things. So again, there's all these questions going around. I mean, I know everybody sits there and they watch the news and they watch the press conferences, and it's like it's question after question after question after question. And I think, society, I think mankind in general is always in the pursuit of the unknown or knowledge. But you can't let that jeopardize, utilizing what you do know. And that's really the thing. We need to stop, it's fine to ask questions and ponder about the unknown, but don't give up the fact that you have knowledge that's either been passed down to you. There's things that you can do or you should do. And we need to talk about some of that stuff too. So what do we know? And we know that we've been here before. We've been in a market like this before. I mean, there was the Great Depression, there was the tech bubble, there was 9/11, there was the 2008 housing crisis, and now we'll have the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. And we've been here in these situations. And the things that I know about these situations really is two things. There's two critical components about this. And the things that I know to be factual is, one, everything slows. And all these times, everything slows. It's not as easy to be successful. So that's a fact. But in that, home services and home improvements are essential. And I use that word because I don't know that we've ever looked at it through that lens before. I don't think we've ever said, hey, we're essential. And I think that now you understand that we've been deemed, by our country as essential workers. That's why so many of us are still operating. So even in slow times, we're essential because people need to maintain their homes. So the fact that we've been labeled essential is the clue that there's still customers to be had. Maybe not as many. In some cases, there might be more depending on what you do. But they're still there and they're out there. So if you're kind of checking that box, like my hands are tied and there's nothing for me to do, that's just not true. And it's not based off of opinion, it's based off of fact. You wouldn't have been deemed essential. So we are essential, and we need to go out and get the customers that are there. The other thing that I know to be true about every one of these times that our economy is slowed is the economic market trailing a slow period is typically very strong. It's like the slingshot. Like, 2008 and 2009 and 2010 were very slow. But since then, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15, the economy has just been exploding. We see new businesses opening in the market, whether it's home improvements or home services, every day. I heard a staggering statistic that in our market that over the last 5 years, there's been 100,000 new registrations for licenses. So it's been a huge time for growth, and a lot of us have built our businesses in those times. So again, the two things that we know is, yes, it's going to slow down, and yes, it's going to come back, and when it comes back, it's going to come back very strong. And that's in any market. But how is this different? Because I think this pandemic is a little bit different. You got to go back to, I don't know, what is it, in 1918 or 1928 to the Spanish flu to get something that's like this. So how is this pandemic different than 9/11 or 2008? And this one is different to me because it's a forced shutdown. And I think it's voluntary. Everybody's kind of taking their life and putting it on hold, which is like a weird place. it's like we feel like we're forced into this situation, but we're really not. I mean, just because the government makes the rules, I mean, really, you know, the government is it's just a group of civilians that have been elected. So we're making these own rules to put our lives on hold, to, you know, protect ourselves. So everybody's kind of stepping back. I'm not closing my business because I don't have customers, because I don't, you know, because the economy is slowed. I'm closing my business because we're all doing that because it's what we're supposed to be doing right now. And that's a place that we've never been. So we've never really come out of anything like this before. So in the past markets, when you have, you know, economic slowdown, it's typically trailed by a pretty hard economic growth period. But that growth period is still somewhat of a ramp up. It's a slow curvature. The market was terrible in 2008, 2009. It slowly started to come back. 2010, 11, 12, slowly. This is a little bit different because we're voluntarily doing this. And, you know, the other thing that's happening now is, well, in these past instances, the government did pump stimulus into the economy, whether it was banking bailouts or so forth. But I don't think the world is going to pump more stimulus into worldwide economies than we've ever seen before. So it's kind of like this weird place to be. It's like we're all voluntary staying home. And we are waiting to come out of this like a slingshot, and the government is going to pump more money into the economy in a period that we've ever seen. And that's not even just our government, that's global. So that's a really strange place to be. So what's going to happen with that? What's going to happen with that? There you go. Oh man, hit it twice. You know, the market's going to come back, and it's going to come back really hard and really fast. And that's why if you're watching, like, you know, the stock market, you're like, why is the stock market not like totally just collapsing? And how is it gaining day over day? It's because people, like, they're looking at this like this is a temporary thing. It's temporary. Is it going to be 4 more weeks? Is it going to be 6 more weeks? And when it comes back, it's going to come back hard. And the government's going to be able to pump so much stimulus into the economy that people are actually going to come out of this potentially financially improved or more financially sound. There's going to be down periods, don't get me wrong, but there's going to be a forgiveness like never before seen. So it's going to be the greatest comeback of the century and maybe ever. I mean, that's my belief, is this thing is going to shoot up like a rocket ship. But we do know, consumers are going to engage in purchasing, and I think they're going to do it with almost a catch-up style mentality. And what I mean by that is, like, my wife loves to go to Target. It's one of, her favorite things to do. Well, now my wife talks about when she's going to go back to Target, almost like it's vacation. I mean, she's like, I can't wait. I already know what I'm going to get. It's like, she's being held back from society right now. Like there's reins around her. It's not like she doesn't have the money to potentially go to Target. She just can't go. So, I mean, she's going to take off. So I know that this kind of comeback is coming. So I think we need to start, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is not worrying so much about the downtime, but really preparing for that comeback. Okay. So now the thing is when we do come back, you see this guy down here with his face mask. When we do come back, I think we're all starting to have conversations about what that comeback's going to feel like. If they open schools, are you going to let your kid go right back? Like if they open schools in 4 weeks, would your kid go back or would you hold them back? When they open restaurants, are you going to run right back? And I think the answer is yes, we're all going to start to participate in society, but I think that we'll probably be changed for the foreseeable future of how we conduct ourselves from a germ standpoint and from a human contact standpoint. Fast forward 15 years, people will be back to back in the Starbucks line. But I think even for the foreseeable future, as normalcy starts to return, you're going to find that there's going to be a different element of social distancing. So we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about how society might be changed forever in this webinar here today. So, so just a quick recap, what we know. Okay, so we know we're going to come out of this like a rocket ship. We know we're going to rebound, and it's going to be followed by a great time of economic growth. We know that there's business to be had right now. We just need to change our approach. How do we save money and generate as much revenue as possible during these things? And then 3, how is the world going to be different from now on? And that's really like, the things that we're going to focus on. So, it's funny. Life has served us this big, like, proverbial lemon, right? It's just like, this just feels like, I just, like I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And it's just, some days you're filled internally with like this sadness, right? And, I've been clinging to this notion to pull me out of that, to find drive. And, and I wholeheartedly believe this. I've been looking around, and let's not talk about work for a second, and let's just talk about our lives, and let's just talk about how we're transforming. We've been served this lemon, like we can't go outside, we can't do anything, right? Like we can't drive our cars, and we can't go to work, and we can't go to restaurants, right? And all that's changed for us, and the kids aren't going to school. But let's think about the things that we've gotten from that. I mean, I've spent more time with my children doing the simplest thing. I took my children outside yesterday, taught them how to make a fire, because we're just out of things to do. And I realized that my 7-year-old doesn't know how to make a fire. So, you start thinking about these things. We go outside and we sit on the front porch. And it's one of my favorite things to do now, because it's all that I can do. I sit here in front of the computer all day and I work, and then I look forward to the time where I get to sit on my front porch. I use a lot less waste. I mean, I was a paper towel god. I mean, I used to wash my hands. I'd use 3 and 4 paper towels, and when I go to the roll, I'd stream the roll of toilet paper, like there was no end in sight. And now I've learned to be more waste conscious. I find myself making my children finish all their food, and we have a desire to consume leftovers. So we're becoming minimalists, right? And it's sad that this is what it took for me to embody those values and those principles. But I think I'm forever changed in that. I mean, I want to be forever changed in that. So have we been served a big giant lemon, or we have been served a gift? The gift of time. I mean, the greatest asset to us is time. It's the thing that we wish we always had more of. I wish I could spend more time with my kids. I wish I had more time to be with my wife. Wish I had more time to read. I wish I had more time to learn. I wish I had more time to work on my business instead of being stuck in it. I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time to take a nap. I wish I had more time to sleep. I mean, it's endless. And you've been given this gift of time. There's nothing you can do. So you just relax and you step back and you just embrace it. And you try to live the best you can in this time. So what have you done with it? I mean, I've done all these wonderful things. And I started thinking, I'm like, well, organically, I started applying these things to my business. Organically, I started doing things in my business that I might not have done for years because I'm stuck in the day-to-day monotony. So now that we're slowed down, what are we going to do with this time? And it's simple enough. We take lemons and we make lemonade. So what are you going to do? You're going to work on your business. So many of us are caught working in our business every single day. And let me explain the difference. Working in your business is dealing with a customer, trying to sell a job, trying to generate a lead, trying to, comfort one of your employees, trying to deal with an employee that maybe did something wrong, right? I mean, it's just constant, trying to fix the computer, right? And you very rarely have time to step back and work on your business. And that's what we're really, the ideology behind this whole thing is, how are you preparing for the comeback? It's going to be the greatest comeback potentially of all time economically. People are going to run to services like they've never run before. I mean, spring is a great time for home improvements, and it's paralyzed right now to a degree. So, how are you going to capture that when it comes back? So if you come out of this with the same business that you had going into it and just a more weakened, stressed version of it, then you did yourself a disservice. You should come out of this with a stronger business. So I really broke this down into 4 categories. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about developing your sales toolkit, reviewing your systems, human resources, and operation. And this exists in every business, whether you're a 1-user company or whether you're a 100-person company. I talk in terms of users because, I own a tech company here. So it's funny. I meant to say whether you're a 1-person company or a 100-person company. But, so it doesn't matter how big you are. These are things that you should be sitting down looking at. So let's just talk about developing your sales toolkit. And I want to talk about, if I were to start, and I've owned a successful home improvement company in the past. It was, in our height, we were a $35 million company with 200 employees. We focused predominantly on roofing and exterior remodeling. And, so if I were to start a new business, if I wanted to start a new company, a new roofing business, I would sit down, and the first thing that I would do is I would develop my sales toolkit. And let me explain what that is to me. The first thing that I would do is I would develop my product presentation. It's the very first thing I would do. I'd ask myself, what products are we going to sell? Who are we going to buy them from? And then how are we going to convince our homeowners that these are the products that they want to be using? So product presentation isn't simply just sitting down making a 5-page deck of screenshots and brochures. It's really an audit of understanding, are you selling the right products? Why do you like the products? And how are you articulating that to your homeowner? Remember, our products, a lot of our products might be commodities, but even in commodities, there's higher quality commodity and there's lower quality commodity. So I'd be developing my product presentation. A lot of us don't have that. We go out, we give an estimate on a roof, or we go out, we give an estimate on a kitchen, and then we use whatever kind of materials are available. Maybe we'll give them a GAF shingle, maybe we'll give them a Kohler faucet, maybe whatever's available in Home Depot. Well, I'm encouraging you to use this time to work on your business, because if you had the time, the best practice is to develop a story around the products and why you sell them. The second thing I would do is I would develop my company story, because now I know who I am and what I want to sell and the products I want to sell and why I want to sell these products. What does my company story look like? And your company story is simply a pitch book. Some of us already have a very robust pitch book. Some of us have a weak pitch book, and some of us don't have a pitch book at all. What a pitch book is it's a slide deck. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 15, but it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with your products. It has to do with who you are, your company's story, how you came to be, your value, how you take care of your customers, and ultimately why they should buy you. It's your service story. Okay, they're not just buying a roof or windows or a kitchen or a bath. They're buying a company. So what's your story, and how are you presenting that to them? Is it professional? The next thing I would do is I would get my price guide in order. You'd be astonished at how many people I talk to that still just do custom pricing on everything. They go out, they look at the job, and they kind of just know from experience. I don't think we want to operate like that. I mean, you don't look at a job and say, yeah, that'll be $10,000. Imagine if you pushed your grocery cart up to the cash register at the store and the lady looked at it and said, how about 150 bucks? Like, people don't want that. Homeowners want transparency. They want to understand how you came up with the price. They want detailed line items of the price. They just don't want 10 grand or 5 grand or 7 grand or 30 grand. They want to see the breakdown, and they'll be prepared to pay a company more that breaks it down than a company that spitballs. Even if the spitball is profitable and accurate, it's not transparent. So that's really important. If you don't have an organized pricing system right now, get your pricing system organized. And then I would think about one of the most important things of all, which is price presentation. How do you present your price to a homeowner? Is that simply, I think I could do it for 10,000, and you do it verbally? Do you send them an email that says, hey, thank you so much? You type in a little paragraph in an email, and then at the bottom it says price is 15,000? Or do you mark it way up and you use a price presentation sheet and you say, hey, we can do this visit for you. We got this program, we got this, we got this. And there's a million different ways to do it. But if you haven't sat down and thought about how you could make it better, I'm encouraging you to use the gift of time to do that and say, how are we presenting price? How is that perceived? Do we want to make a nice piece of paper? Do we want to do it digitally? Do we want to do it remotely? Do we want to mark it up and show a discount or a value? Do we want to give our best price up front and then follow it right up with a price guarantee slide? But it's about sitting down and crafting that. It's your price presentation and then taking it all the way through your contracts. Because when you give somebody an estimate, you should give them the contract or a formal proposal. If you're giving somebody an estimate, but you don't want to take the time to fill out a formal proposal or a contract, because I don't want to do that because only 30% of the people I give estimates to buy to me, and I don't want to take the time to fill a contract out, seems like a pain in the ass. You're doing yourself a disservice. Put the contract in their inbox. Here's your proposals. Here's your contract, sign here. Here's your estimate. Here's your contract, sign here. So create an easy way to get that pricing and that contract presentation together so that you can give that to your customers, because it will increase the number of sales that you get. Because, oh man, literally, you filled the whole thing out. It's all ready to go. All I got to do is push a button. We're off the way. It's totally transparent. I can read it. I can digest it. It's beautiful. And then last but not least is training. Oh, good Lord. You know, I mean, when it comes to training, it's so challenging. I talk to so many different business owners. Some business owners literally try to hire people that are already trained. Some business owners do nothing but OJT, on-job training, and they hire somebody and they make like an apprentice style training program where they just side by side with them for a month and a half. And then there's other business owners that have formalized training. It can consist of classroom training, it can consist of OJT, and it can consist of digital remote training. But when I put this product presentation and company story and price guide and my price presentation and then my training of all that together, I am ready to sell product, which is the biggest challenge that we have. It's the most important thing we do, is selling that product. So that's what I would do. And listen, the very next step in that is review your systems. What are you going to do? You're going to use DocuSign? You're going to use Leap? You're going to use MarketSharp? You're going to use i360? Or you're going to use Hover? You're going to use EagleView, right? I mean, who are you going to use? What systems can you use to help you get this stuff in order? Because companies have made great strides to make this whole develop your sales toolkit easier for you. So it's all about hosting. You need to be able to update your pricing on the fly, make contract changes on the fly. You need to be able to host your training somewhere so people can have access to it. So the first thing you're going to do is review your systems. And here's the thing, in every downturn, and you guys, I encourage you, this is one of those things that we know, in every economic downturn, people invest in tech heavily. And the reason they invest in tech is because they got to tighten the purse strings, and human beings cost a lot of money. So tech is cheap. I know it might not feel that way when you're paying a bill or you're signing up for a license, but tech is inexpensive. So even as far back as the Industrial Revolution and the Great Depression really kind of sprung hand in hand. And what happens is, it's like people need to find cheaper ways to navigate their business, so they look for efficiencies. So implementing technology, if you're not using a CRM, if you're not using a measure tool, or if you're not using the right CRM, if you're not using the right contract software, if you're not using the right measure tools, I encourage you, now's the time, set up as many demos as you can and look at all of them. Get signed up on one and get that thing launched in this downtime, so that when you come back out of this and you come for that great comeback, you have the best systems and processes in place. Take a long look at your website and your social strategy, get that thing updated, clean up your website if it needs cleaning up. These are all the things that don't cost a lot of money to do. 80% of this is nothing but your own backbreaking labor or an employee's labor. It's just having the time to do it. So these are all great things to do. So develop your toolkit, review your systems, and really come out strong in that area. When you look at human resources, take a long look at your compensation packages. Look at your job descriptions, your candidate profile, and your benefits. Maybe you've had to let some people go. Maybe you've laid some people off, or maybe you've had people on, kind of maybe archaic or legacy comp plans. Now's the time where we're going to talk a little bit later in this about utility and using employees in different ways. So I encourage you to redefine, do I need salespeople and a project manager? Do I need, somebody in the office? Do I need customer service and an ops manager? Do I need a finance manager and an operations manager? Like, how are we going to run the businesses leaner? And how are we going to look at the job descriptions of the people that we have, and how are we going to cross-train people to be a more efficient business for the foreseeable future? That's one of the things that drives that economic rise after this, is because businesses get so good, they get so strong, that's why, they explode when they come out of these downtimes. Take a long look at your benefits package. If maybe it's time to take people off 1099 and put them on W-2. Maybe you should have some people on W-2 that should be on 1099. I know that's always a really big debate, but now is a time to change, because the environment is accepting of it. Employees are accepting of it. So you can kind of drive change within your business right now. And then last is look at your operations. So you got to, look, we got our systems in place. We have our selling strategy in place. We have our company story. We have our human resources in place. We understand our hiring and our training and our job descriptions and our comp plans. And then just to round out the business, we need to take a look at our SOPs and our operational procedures. What SOPs do we have formally written? How are we going to, as we make these changes, how are we going to document the changes? Those SOPs will help support your training manuals. So when you're making a change to something, just keep notes of what you're doing. And then that feeds a training manual later. So you can teach somebody how to do that. Look at your production and look at production best practices. Do I want project managers? Again, do I want my salespeople to be project managers? What are the benefits of having a project manager versus a salesperson? If I hire salespeople that are project managers, yes, I can combine that position, but that might limit your ability to hire salespeople because now, project manager has to have one set of skill sets. Maybe the salesperson doesn't need some of those skill sets. So maybe you decide to land in a business atmosphere. It's like, no, I want to be able to hire somebody with a strong personality to do sales, but I need somebody with experience to do project managers. Up until this point, my positions have been combined, and that's limited the number of salespeople I could hire. Now's the time for me to split that. I want to bring in a salesperson, and I want to redefine those positions. So just think about your production process and what that looks like. I mean, you're selling these jobs. How are you going to get them installed? And what's the cleanest, most efficient way to do that? And then last but not least is look at our reporting set. We need data and we need to watch it. If you don't have good report sets, I mean, how are you going to, sit there and give your high five yourself when the comeback starts and you're killing it? How are you going to measure the results of all the work you did in your business during this downtime in the rebuilding of it? So you need the report sets to be able to do that. So really think about what you want to look at your business, how you're going to measure success. Now, listen, maybe you already have all these things in place. Maybe you're like, yeah, I'm on this webinar right now and Patrick's talking and like, I get it that, some of these things I might need to double back and look at, but like suppose you're an enterprise company and you already have all these things and you're already doing these. Well, then make a barrel of lemonade. Don't make a pitcher. Don't make a glass. Tackle bigger initiatives. Reforecasting a budget for 2020. I mean, I know a lot of companies build budgets. Some people don't have a budget at all. If you don't have a budget and you have all those other things checked off, then build a new budget. Take this time to put it down and say, what are my sales going to look like? What are my expenses going to look like? How am I going to manage my business out of that, right? Audit all of the above is necessary. We already talked about that, the last slide. Audit all that stuff. You can work on a 2021 marketing plan. If you don't have your 2020 market plan, if you don't have your 2021 market plan, start to work on that. What is 2021 going to look like? I was hoping to do, $10 million or $2 million or 500,000 this year. And I'm afraid I might come up a little bit short. Next year, what's my goal? How can I recover that money? Somebody, I don't know, somebody, they always say like a bad plan is better than no plan at all. So taking the time to do a reforecast or taking the time to do a budget in the unknown, and trust me, I go back on this and forth too. I'm a business owner. Am I sitting down doing a reforecast? Yeah, I'm sitting down doing a reforecast. Am I making some assumptions? Yeah, I'm just making some assumptions. But if I don't put it on paper, if I don't have my goals on paper, if I don't have my expenses on paper, I'm flying blind. So like I said, a bad plan is better than no plan at all. Think about new products or services that could help save 2020. I don't know. In our area, there's a HVAC company. It's Michael and Sons. They're a big company. I watch their commercials, and they got they're doing this thing now where they're doing desanitation. And they're selling ultraviolet light systems for in your home, right, to clean your air. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know that they would have pushed that really hard if this hadn't happened. So how can you pivot your business? What are some things that you might be able to do? What are some things that you can introduce into your business that might be a better viable product now than it was 2 months ago because of COVID-19? You can invest in training. We talked about training, but if you already have really detailed training, but you're not using an LMS or a digital training, you could get some demos on LMS systems. We use Paycom. They got a good system. ADP has some systems, but you could talk to your payroll providers and they might have a system. And what you do is you upload your training in that, allows you to clean up your onboarding process. I mean, if you're laying people off and you're going to have to go through a hard rehire, I think there's going to be a great kind of back to work. It's never going to be a better time to recruit than after this. But when this comes back, how are you going to onboard those people? How are you going to get them trained up? Can you help digitize some of that process or make your onboarding process a little more professional with an LMS? And I think the answer to that is yes, definitely. You can think about market expansion. Right now we're in one market. We're thinking about doing another office next year. All right, we'll take this newfound time because I promise after this, you're not going to have time to do anything because there's going to be a customer surge. It's going to come back. It's going to come back hard, and you're going to be worried about recapturing lost revenues, not what market you're going into next year. And if you're super big, consider private equity or funding. Think about that. I know that's been a big conversation. I think the private equity market is going to be really, really strong out of this. I think people will be a little bit leery in corporations and things like that. I think private equity is going to resurge into the market really hard to try to buy businesses at a value. So I think that, you know, that might be something that you might want to consider. Is it a good time to get funding, right? But like I said in the very beginning, you know, you should not be a weakened version of the same business when this is done. And what I mean by that is you're the same business, you just had a crappy 3 months. Yeah, maybe your revenue is down and you had a crappy 3 months, but your business is much stronger, much stronger. It's a better business than you would have had even if this didn't happen, because you wouldn't have had time to step back and think about these things. So you're going to take your piece of the comeback pie. And that's the way I want you to look at it. Like, you know, I've been dealt this lemonade and I'm going to make a barrel of lemonade with it, man. Or been dealt this lemon and I'm going to make a barrel of lemonade with it. So I want to talk a little bit. I mean, those are some of the things that you can do in this downtime. I mean, that is, in its sense, the meat and potatoes, preparing for the great comeback, right? But I do want to talk about, you know, winning in a harsh environment, right? So it's like, I like this. It's a dog sled picture, you know, I mean, it's pretty harsh, but they're out there, they're competing every day, you know, exposed to the elements, never knowing what's going to happen, right? And it's a harsh environment. And it's funny. I don't know, you guys are familiar with the Iditarod, and the Iditarod was literally, I think, I don't know if it was the Spanish flu or not, but it was a disease outbreak in Nome, and they had to get medicine from one place to another. It was like 400 miles or something. And that's how the most famous dog sled race came to be. Is it was a relay race, and they were getting this medicine to Alaska so that it could save this town, the town of Nome. And that's where it was born. So it was a harsh environment. There was a blizzard literally happening, and they were down to their final hour. This town was going to go extinct, and they had the medicine, and they brought it there. I encourage you to read the story. It's a great story. There's a million books written on it. But and it's so funny because like we think we're in a harsh environment right now. We're not in that environment. You know, I don't have penicillin in a backpack strapped behind 10 dogs in a blizzard in the middle of the wilderness trying to save a town. Like, it might feel like that, but we're not in that environment. I'm using Instacart to get my groceries. Okay. So, you know, and I'm sitting in my basement working on my business and preparing for the best economic comeback of the decade, or the century. So, we're going to talk about a harsh environment. We're going to talk about remote selling. We're going to talk about expense and personal management, and we're going to talk about marketing, because really those are the keys. How can I capture whatever revenue I can right now? How can I manage my expense and my personnel? And then, how are you marketing in this environment? Like, what's working, what's not working? So we're going to touch on some of these things because, again, I do want you to take time to work on your business, but I don't want you to shut your doors. Remember, in these downturns, one of the 3 things we know is there is customers to be had. That's why we're essential. So let's talk about remote selling. And the first thing I want to talk about is digital selling or remote selling versus virtual selling, because there is a clear delineation between the two. And I don't want you to fool yourself on it. Let's talk about digital selling or remote selling. Let's use roofing, because I think we got Eagle View on the screen, right? So we got an Eagle View report on the screen. I can take my Eagle View, I can measure the house, and I can email my homeowner an estimate. I'm virtual selling. No, you're not virtual selling. You're just not going to the house. It's just an off-site experience. That's just an email estimate. You might as well take a mailbox estimate and start calling them email box estimates, because companies that are truly virtual selling are going to start beating up on the guys that are digital selling. So let's talk about what virtual selling is. Virtual selling, to me, is providing an equal or better experience than your traditional process of selling. An equal or better experience, but doing it virtually or remote, not on site. It doesn't mean I simply don't go to their house and give them an estimate. Or I go to their house and measure and then email them an estimate, and now I'm doing virtual selling. You're not doing virtual selling. You're emailing people estimates, which is crappy service. So I understand that you might have to do that, but you should be developing a plan to spin up virtual selling. Maybe it'll take you a week to do that. Maybe it'll take you 2 weeks to do that. So, in the meantime, sure, email them the estimate, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but work on your virtual selling strategy. So the difference between virtual, to me, you're providing the same level of experience, the same experience. Get your list together. That's the number one thing. Everybody that sells products in the marketplace, no matter what you're doing, basement waterproof, air duct cleaning, HVAC, roofing, windows, kitchens, baths, right? flooring, no matter what you're doing, step back and say, all right, what is it absolutely critical that we go on site for? And what is it absolutely not critical that we go on site for? And it says, think outside the box, because I need you to think way out. Well, we got to go on site to diagnose the water heater. Do you? Do you? I mean, is there anything that you can do to partially diagnose the water heater without going on site? Right? I don't know, but I'm telling you to get your list together and think outside the box. I mean, these are the things absolutely critical that we have to go on site for. No ifs, ands, or buts. We got to go on site to fix the water heater, but I can diagnose it remotely if I can get the homeowner to jump through these 5 hoops. Okay, great. Think about those 5 hoops. Think about that experience, but get your 2 lists together. Okay, then you need to step back and you need to explore your resources. And you're going to think about your current resources as well as your future resources. So you're going to explore your resources. I have access to email. Maybe I have DocuSign. Am I using screen share? Do I use Zoom? Do I use Microsoft Teams? Do I use Ring Central? There's lots of them out there. Do I have one or do I not have one? Am I taking payments and financing? If I'm using financing, am I still taking credit apps? Is that something that I have to do? Can I do it virtually? Like, how do I do that? How do I get a check from somebody? And other softwares, whether you're going to measure, shameless plug, Leap, but like other softwares, like am I going to use Eagle View that's on the screen here? Can I use Hover? What softwares can I use? What is available out there to me that I can use as a resource? Because I have my 2 lists. So I don't think about the resources that you have first. Think about all the things that you need to do virtually, and then think about the resources you have, and then fill in the holes to provide the best virtual experience for that. And then the last thing that you need to do is you need to outline and train the process. So what I mean by that is you put all these things together, and then you don't internally train your team on it. It's really important that you're the authority on this. You need to make sure that whatever process that you put in place, you train it and then you train it again. It's a phone call, but like, look, you can call your team and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We got this new remote process. You're going to order your Eagle View. You're going to go on a Zoom. You're going to email them out this proposal, right? If they need to do financing, you're getting them a 3-way. You're going to send them to the app, and you put like a bullet 1-pager list together. You have a 30-minute call for your team, and your team goes and they go to execute it, and they totally screw it up because you built the program. So you had lots of time to think about it and train yourself on it. You give them a 30-minute conversation and a 1-pager on what they're supposed to do, and you expect them to execute against it flawlessly. Then that's just not going to happen. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that when you build your training, you have to do an example of it. You actually do a mock product. Do like a mock screen share. Call your brother-in-law, do an estimate with them. Call your father, do an estimate with them and screen record it. Literally lay out the utility toolkit for them, save it to a OneDrive or some sort of cloud document storage that you might have, and then, give them access to it. Call a schedule to review it, have them all study it for the day, and then call and have them share back with you what they're going to be doing, and then monitor the process. You also need to think about the external training process, because remember, you're selling to the homeowner. So you got to think about what the homeowner experience is going to feel like. A lot of times we train our reps internally, but we don't turn that outward, and we create no expectations for the homeowners. So when you look at the homeowners, I'm seeing, like, I literally just had an article come to me today where homeowners are confused about what to expect. So homeowners are calling contractors, and contractors are saying, we can do as little or as much as you want us to. We're happy to still come into your home and sit at the table with you. Or if you're uncomfortable with that, here's what we can do. And that just makes you feel like you're working through a problem. You don't have a solution, you're working through it. And that's not the place you want to be. You want to take total control. Okay, yes, you want to accommodate homeowners, but don't confuse the two. You want to deliver this with confidence. When you're talking to the homeowner, when you develop what your remote selling process is going to be like for the next 30, 60, 90, 180 days, who knows? You want to be the authority in that. Here's what we're doing. We're 100% confident. We're delivering excellent customer service, and we're going to kill, we're killing it like this. This is what we're doing. This is the process. You need to protect your employees, and you need to protect your customers, and you need to be the authority in that. So you need to do some prep. So you can do little things like call to prep the homeowner. So your salespeople, some people might cringe when they hear this, say, yeah, salesperson's going to call the homeowner on the way to try to start to diagnose the problem. Hey, it's like, say I have to come into the house. So a salesperson's not doing a total virtual. Maybe it's a water heater. Maybe it's a service technician. You're going out to the house. You call, hey, can you tell me where the area is? Would you like me to come to the front door or the back door? Would you like me to just knock and let myself in? Okay, do you have a dog? Is the dog locked up? Okay, great. So you're doing a preliminary prep call, because like for me, it's like, yeah, yep, you come through the garage, it's open, come right in the door. The door to the basement's right there. You can just shoot right down there. I don't need to take you down there. The lights are already on, the doors are already open. You have access to the hot water heater. And I know that feels extreme, but that's the type of service that you have to provide to these people. So you should be making those suggestions to them. You shouldn't be knocking on their door like they're going to invite you in to look at the water heater, you know, because that's an uncomfortable experience for them. They don't want that. They barely want you in their home. So if you can call and be like, hey, you can definitely maintain a distance. We're happy to let ourselves in. We'll announce ourselves when we get there. If you tell us how to get to the basement, we'll go down there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use videos to diagnose the problem. And then what I'll do is I'll screen share that with you later. I have to put eyes on it. So again, think outside of the box, but make sure the homeowner is informed. Take control, be the authority in your process, and make sure it's equally important that you communicate your process to the homeowner as you do communicate it to the internal employees. How much time we got here? I don't even know. Oh, 2:47. All right, I'm doing good. Seeing is believing. Okay. Listen, booties, masks, even I call it an oversuit. I don't know what it's called, you know, but like people that paint cars put on those zip up suits. They're like real thin. You know, one of those, sterilize on the way in and sterilize on the way out. And the last thing that I love is stickers. If you have to go into a house, if you replace windows, hypothetically, you get stickers made. Leap is working on this, but we'll get some stickers made, and it'll say this has been sterilized, and you put a sticker on it. And you know, it's an easy peel sticker. So if you go down and you work on the water heater, you know, when you leave there, they're like, this unit has been sterilized. Put sterilization stuff in your salespeople, your service technicians, your installers' hands, so that they can do it. But like, seeing is believing. You got to go, whatever you think clean is, go over that. Like you're like, hey, we got to stay 6 feet away. We're going to do elbow bumps instead of handshakes. No. You're going to stay 30 feet away, right? We're not going to do elbow bumps. We're not going to do any of that. Matter of fact, I'm going to put on booties, a mask, an oversuit. I'm going to have sterilization on the way in. And when I come out, it's going to smell like the housekeeper was there, because I'm going to hit whatever I touched and worked on with stickers, and I'm sanitized it all. Saran wrap is beautiful. If you guys use iPads in the house or something, the homeowner needs to sign with their finger. You know, if you are going into a house like that, you can wrap something in saran wrap, whether it's a demo tool or a sample. You know, but it only works if they saw you sanitize your hands. You came into the house, you sanitize your hands, you take the saran wrap out, you put it around the item, you hand it to them, then they believe it. If you have dirty hands and you take the saran wrap out, you're shot. So just whatever you're doing, I encourage you, think outside the box. I promise they'll see value in it. It's literally marketing. We're going to talk about expense and personnel management. So first and foremost, reoccurring payments, you know, just defer them or try to eliminate them. That's things like rents, things like, you know, your cable bills. I'm talking about within your business and so forth. I mean, this is bringing out the best in people. You know, if you make a call to landlords, you know, auto dealers, the critical mistake you make right now, maybe, or some people make, is they don't need to do it. We're not that strapped. I can make the truck payments on the vehicles. Now, I know you can make the truck payments on the vehicles. That's fine. But I'd rather take that money and be able to use it for the great comeback. So if they're going to let me defer 3 months payments free, I'm going to take advantage of it. So anything that you can defer or reduce, make the phone call. And if you don't think you can do it, you don't think they'll say yes, make the phone call. Because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Overcut, deep. Try to reduce any of those expenses you can. Manufacturers and distributors rely on relationships and loyalties. Hey man, I killed it in January, I killed it in February. Sorry if there's like ABC people or Beacon people on the call. I said I was going to be honest, and I'm going to give you everything that I got. But you call them if you have a good relationship with them. Hey, I want to be here for you. Help me a little bit now. Maybe I can help you in the future. I'll pay you back tenfold. Can you take my January bill and sparse it out over 3 payments? Anything that you can do for me, anything that you can give for me, rely on relationships. You're doing that for your employees. You're doing it for your customers. It's a pay it forward type thing. If everybody gives a little, everybody will be okay, right? If everybody gives a little, everybody will be okay. So manufacturers, distributors, you got to do it. Personnel, this is tough. There's personnel on here right now. Some of them are probably work for me. But this is going to be real and this is going to be honest. We're going to talk about furloughs versus layoffs. Furloughs and layoffs are very similar. The only difference is the perception in it. Furlough means you intend to bring the employee back. Layoff means you don't intend to bring the employee back. Furlough them. Maybe you'll be able to bring them back. Maybe you won't be able to bring them back. But the answer is you don't know. Now, if you know you're not bringing them back, and there's no hope of it, then don't furlough them, lay them off, or let them go so they know what they need to do. But as business owners, we want to try to preserve the employees that we have, even if we can't keep them now, even if we can't pay them now. So furlough them, put them over, let them get eligible for the benefits that are available to them with the intent to bring them back at a time. Remember, it's giving and taking, it's understanding. I think people are more human right now than they've ever been. You can have hard conversations with your employees. You can have hard conversations with your coworkers. Maybe there's some managers on this call. Look, I'd love to keep you on, but I can't pay you X anymore. I mean, it's not an opportunity to take advantage of people, but it's an opportunity to be honest. And I think that's the most important thing. A job swap is huge right now. Hey, I can keep you on, but we only need a salesperson 2 days a week. But if you want to come in and maybe do some accounting, or you want to come in and work on setting Leap up for me, I'll take that. If you want to come in, that was a joke. Nobody laughed. Maybe everybody laughs. I don't know. But, job swap, how can you utilize these people? And I know there's nothing novel here, but it's the idea is like, people, they think about this, but they just don't know how to do it. The biggest takeaway from personnel is you can have honest conversations. You can reduce pay, or you can do deferred comp. I love this. You give back a little bit. So, let's say you have an employee, and let's say right now you're paying that employee 5 days a week, and let's say, God, you don't want to lose that employee, but you only have like 2 days worth of work for that employee. Well, ask the employee if they can go down to 2 days, but you'll pay them for 3 because you save 40% of their salary and you give them the gift of 1 extra day. I don't need you the 3rd day, but it helped me help you. I'll give a little, I'll get a little. I'll pay you for 3 days. You can be home drinking lemonade with your family, teaching your kids how to make fires in the backyard. And then what I'll do is I'll save 40% of your payroll. And it's so you end up giving. It doesn't have to be just a take. Like, that's an opportunity for you to get some. Hey, Mike, you know what? If you can go down to 2 days a week, I'll pay you for 3. I mean, that's good for both people. Deferred comp is really big too. Can I defer some of your compensation? What that means is, right now you make $100,000, you make $75,000, you make $50,000 a year. What I'd like to do is I'd like to reduce that to 50%, but I'll pay you back over 3rd and 4th quarter. So if I can take your salary and reduce it for the next 60 days, I'll give you that money back over 3rd and 4th quarter, when things get a little better. And that's a way for you to preserve your employees. And then you have to look at your org chart. Remember, we talked about this. Now, there's never a better time to eliminate unnecessary positions within your org chart. I mean, it is what it is, because listen, being laid off is challenging. If you've maybe been holding on to somebody because you care about them, but you don't really see the value in the position anymore. Well, there's more benefits available to them at this point in time. So if you were ever going to get laid off, let's call it organic layoff, where you're not being laid off because of COVID, but it's just a separation. Now is a good time to do that, because I believe that those people will be in a better state a better economic state to deal with that. So it's a really good time to be honest with your staff about who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, who's going to do what. But again, you have to ask and you have to cut everything you can, even if somebody's killing it. Yeah.
Sorry, Pat, just gonna jump in real quick. This is really great information. I just want to be cognitive of everybody's time because I know a lot of people have probably blocked off another 5 minutes. So I don't want to cut you up, but I want to make sure that everybody gets this information.
Let's bring it home. All right, marketing and partnerships, ask for favors. If you advertise on television, radio, print, whoever you're advertising with, ask for favors. Try to do a little bit of get and give. Whenever somebody gives you a favor, boost them on social. Your distribution center says, hey, we can save you a little bit of money. Go on your social and shout them out. Tell them you love them. Don't be like, hey, they saved us money. Just say, hey, man, they've supported us through this time of trial, and we'll never forget it. And give them your loyalty. When the market comes back and killing it, at the first sign that you can get a better deal from another distribution center, don't forget the fact that they helped you. So rely on your relationships, ask for favors, give and get. And remember that same thing for your employees. Employees that stay with you during this critical time, remember to give and get. Economy comes back hard, you have a great year. Maybe Christmas bonuses are a little bigger this year. Okay? Let's blast it. Oh, marketing. Okay, really quick. All right, clean cells. We already talked about that. If you can do your commercials in a face mask, do them. Okay, so clean cells. Show that your virtual estimate, not a digital estimate. Show them the screen, even if it's mock photos, or even if it's it's copy, or what do they call it, stock photos. Show yourself. Social media is huge right now. Facebook ads are awesome. Quarantine marketing is cheap and effective. What I mean by that is, right now I could go on the television right now and cut a television spot from my basement with my children on my lap on my iPhone. I could send that to my production studio and you could air that on Good Morning America and the spot would perform well. The production would cost me almost nothing. Normally I spend $50,000 or $60,000 maybe to cut a spot. Now I can do it on my cell phone in the basement. Quarantine marketing is cheap. It doesn't have to be pretty because it's quarantine marketing, and that's what people want to see. They want to see you doing things remote, abiding by the rule, being a productive member of society. Use an honest and caring tone. No corona sales. No corona sales, not even in a funny way. Don't even make it funny. Just, maybe you did it and some people liked it and laughed at it. We're still in an honest and caring time. You're asking people for big favors. You're asking people to step out of their comfort zone. You want to be a hero in that. Don't cheapen it with humor or shoddy ads. Print is magnificent right now. I don't care if you've never done it, just call and put an ad in the paper. People are reading, they're walking to the end of the road, reading the paper like they've never done before. And they'll give you great deals on it. TV over radio, but radio is super cheap, so don't eliminate it. I mean, you can get radio at highly reduced costs right now, but TV obviously performs better because people are in front of they're on their couches, they're watching the news. Financing. If you're not using financing, you're behind the times because it's what sells. You either want like a no period, which is no interest, no payments, or you want a no low period, which is like no interest followed by a low payment. That's what we're actually seeing. When I've talked to people, that's what's working best. Something that's like a period of no interest, no payments, followed by a low interest payment after that. So can we give you 6 months, no interest, no payments, and then a low interest payment after that? Referrals, please. It's tough out there. Expose yourself. Remember, rely on the human element. Mrs. Jones, listen, I know everybody always asks for referrals, but this is a really challenging time for me, my family, and my business. Ask with a different level of sincerity, and you'll get a different response. Rely on friends and families like you've never done that before. Call your cousins, brothers, sisters, aunts. You guys know anybody that'll take a virtual roof estimate. Anybody will take a virtual window estimate. And last but not least, should I lower my price? Yes. Yes. Don't drop it to the floor, but lower it. I mean, give back what you're getting. You're saving money by furloughing employees, by deferring compensations, by asking everybody for help. It's not supposed to end up in your pocket. It's supposed to end up in the consumer's pocket so you can keep your business moving forward. Lower your prices. Are things going to change? This is like my last slide, Thomas. Are things going to change? And besides, Thomas, they'll stay on here for 2-3 hours, I think. I'm not following. Okay, so things going to change? Yeah, let's talk about the way things should be anyways. right? So, that's the biggest thing. Let's talk about the way things should be anyways. Like, I keep booties in my house so that when contractors come to my house, I don't have to tell them to unlace their boots and take them off, because that's awkward. Because I look down, I'm like, oh yeah, you're not wearing slip-offs. So I keep booties in my house. That's shameful. We're better than that. Booties is not enough. You shouldn't leave fingerprints. You should leave stickers. Not now, but always. I mean, I've had my HVAC system worked on 1,000 times. I've never went down and had a desanitation sticker on it. I go down there and there's like a screw on the ground and a little piece of wire that was cut and fingerprints. And that's just, let's raise our bar. Let's get ultra clean. Like I said, the environment is going to change. It's not going to go back to normal. Digital process, 100%. There's nothing more I can say than adopt technology. I mean, you gotta, it's going to change. It was going to change anyway. Everybody's talking about it. Like, it was going to change anyway. Like, people talk about remote workforces. People have been talking about remote sales on the conference tour forever. When's it coming? When's it going to happen? Well, it came, and it came all at once. And it's not going to go back to normal. It'll go back to a version of normal, but not entirely normal, right? And increased efficiency in both expense and manpower. It's increased efficiency in both expenses and manpower. What I think I meant by that is, you're going to have to run your business leaner for the foreseeable future. Even as the market starts to come back, you're not going to return to your current structure. You're going to do more with less, because there's going to be a recapture period. So you're going to run lean, not just through this, but you're going to try to stay lean probably for a year, 2 years, 3 years after this, as long as you can. So expenses and manpower, you really take a long, hard look at that, and that's not going to return to entirely normal. Now, if you're on this call and you've been laid off or you've been deferred, please don't think that you're not coming back. I don't know. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, looking at your businesses, it's really important that you understand that, you should take a hard look at that. And these are the permanent lingering things. I mean, we need to address the way we deal with people. To get a window estimate in my home, if I want to get 3 estimates, there's absolutely no reason for 3 people, even in a post-COVID environment, to come breathing and measuring all my windows and breathing in my house just for me to get the estimate. That's not even getting them installed. So, I think it's like, using these technologies in a pinch is not going to be a pinch. I think it's going to be permanent. So I would get on with those things. Is it going to go totally virtual? No, it's going to return to a level of normalcy. I wholeheartedly believe in conventional sales process, a face-to-face sales process, getting to know your contractor, and I support that. But I think we're going to bring in some of this short-term stuff. So I think we're going to land in like a hybrid version. So in the end, in closing, you've been given the gift of time. You've been given the support of your country through this stimulus pack, so you can sit back and work on your business. You have the support of your employees and partners. They'll really help you and accept you in every way, as long as it's honest. You have a better society through your customer base. They're more tolerable. They're more tolerant. Your friends and family will give you more referrals. With this time, you're going to build a better business. And I think that all humans are going to become a better version of ourselves, and we're going to spend more time with family. We're going to try to work more efficiently, and we're going to learn to smell the roses. So, I do believe that we've been given a gift here. I don't think we've been served a big giant lemon. Now, I know people are sick, and that is terrible. But on the positive side, a lot of people are spending and reconnecting with family and doing things that they didn't have time to do in the past, and I think that is a gift. So it's the bright side. It's trying to see it. You guys got this, and that's my piece, Tom.
Great, thanks, Patrick. That was a lot of great information. Lots of things to think about and work on. So really appreciate that. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know that it's just past the 3 o'clock mark. So if you have to jump off, feel free to enter your questions into that chat box there, or submit those to marketing@leaptodigital.com, and we'll be sure to answer all those questions. We do have one quick thing before I jump to the Q&A box right now. If you do have to jump off as you leave the webinar today, you'll see a short survey pop up. We'd love to get your feedback on today's presentation and also hear about any topics that you might be interested in for future webinars. So we'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment and answer that as you log off today. Before we close out the session, though, we do have a question in the chat box from Noel asking how LEAP can make this easier for contractors.
Oh, what a good question. Is Noel a real person, or did we just preload that one? No,
nope. Noel, real person.
There's 4,000 questions in there. Thanks, Noel. Listen, no, I think that, look, at the end of the day, I mean, I want to deliver you guys straightforward content. I mean, Leap's going to help with all that because, when you onboard Leap, it asks you all those questions like, okay, this is where you put your pitch book. This is where you put your product presentation. What brochures and literature are you giving out? Can you put your pricing in? What do your contracts look like? So from the business audit standpoint, that's the thing about Leap is when you onboard Leap, you kind of go through this internal audit. So it kind of drives that process for you. And like I said, we're paying it forward as well. So if you reach out and schedule a demo with the salesperson, I promise we'll give you the gift of, being able to work on your business with Leap being a part of it. And we'll work with you on what that looks like from an economic standpoint. So, I think you can call now and you can probably have a conversation about, wanting to use this tool, but it takes you through that audit. And then most importantly, it's perfectly remote. I mean, everything is built in. So, your hovers are integrated, your Eagle views are integrated, and your contracts are perfectly digital and remote and dynamic. You can update them on the fly. You hit either a Zoom or a, Microsoft Teams, whatever, service you're using to share your screen, and it's beautiful. It's all done right there from your iPad. And, so I think companies that were utilizing Leap do have had a much easier transition to a digital, to a fully virtual selling experience. And that's the thing. Some of those things I talked about, like the virtual selling experience is just that. You have to sit down, you have to screen share with the homeowners, and you have to say, hi, how are you? They want to see your face. They want to see your eyes. They want to hear your company's story. They want to see your products almost more now than ever. So that's what I was talking about with that virtual selling experience is it shouldn't change. Whatever you said to them or showed them when you went to their house, you now need to show them and say to them virtually. And I think it's very important that they see your face. So if you were to grab a Leap license and start the onboarding process, you're not just using our product, you're going through an internal business audit. So it's helping you. It's going to make you look at your pricing, your contracts, your resources, your selling tools, all of those things, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a selling system. But again, it's got payment processing, remote payment capture, financing, everything's built into it. So people that were on our product had a very easy transition.
Fantastic. Thank you, Patrick. We have another question from Greg. Do you have any suggested measuring software for interior remodelers?
Oh, so listen, what I'm going to do is we do. So is there a way that we can email the groups? What I'd like to do is I'd like to go back to our product team and figure out what those best softwares are. And we'll drop like one or two that are choice and we'll send those to you. Can we send that?
Absolutely. We definitely include that.
Yeah, because like I know some names and stuff, but I want to make sure that it's the right one. So I will answer that question and we'll follow up with you.
Great, thank you.
You want one more?
All right. Do we have any other questions out there? All right, I think that's it for the day. Thanks again, Patrick. Wonderful presentation. Again, we'll be having a recording made available to everyone later this afternoon, so keep an eye on your email box for that. And if you have any questions that pop up as you're thinking about things later on, feel free to drop those into marketing@leapsdigital.com, and we'll be sure to get those answers for you. So thanks again. Sorry again that we went a little bit over on time, but we appreciate your time and listening in this afternoon. And again, keep an eye out for that survey as you log off today. So thanks again, everyone, and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.